All right. So, next video, want to talk about the Georgia Senate races really quick, or not really quick, but first, before that, really quickly, up against my friend Rozsoma. I think I got it right that time. Rozsoma, like Rashomon, the Kurosawa movie. He set up Ray Jawas, which was beautiful. And I very purposefully wanted to take this Vader team for that reason there. Vader kills himself. It's a great Vader counter, if that makes sense. Counter to the Vader counter. So Rashoma and I both were making Kyber. When he set this, I said I have to do an exhibition on how this can absolutely destroy an otherwise very, very good Vader counter to GL Ray. So here you go. All right. So in my last video, I was talking about two down ticket Senate runoffs in Georgia that will likely determine which party holds the majority in the Senate. I believe right now it is 48, 48, and 2 with two independents. One of the independents, of course, being Bernie Sanders, who almost exclusively, I think, votes Democrat. So he might as well be the, well, current 49th Democrat, but whatever. So, two Senate races. Long and short of it, no candidates got 50% or more of the votes. I mean, these were open Senate race elections. I mean, one seat had like fucking 20 candidates or some shit. No exaggeration, which is just so stupid. You'd think the state party would try to cull those numbers down so that you didn't have to have runoffs like this. But whatever. Anyway, so one of the Republican candidates is Kelly Loeffler, who had an allegation, that's all it is so far, that she and her husband liquidated several millions of dollars worth of stock holdings at a pretty suspicious time in the days after she had a closed-door meeting with other, or not even closed-door meeting, closed-door briefing with other senators about coronavirus. And this is before the public was made aware of the real and true severity of the virus and the endemic, which then became a pandemic. Or, excuse me, epidemic that became a pandemic. So that's suspicious as fuck. Sus. So that's one of the people running for Republican, or the Senate seat as a Republican. Anyway, actually, interestingly enough, for the other seat, the Democratic nominee is a reverend. And I kind of like that. I love Southern Democrats because generally they can appeal to both sides. And especially a Southern Democratic reverend can surely appeal to most, if not all sides. I generally like Northern Republicans, well, Northeastern Republicans, of which there really aren't all that many. Southern Democrats, Midwestern Democrats, like Pete Buttigieg. Those are the types of people that I like because they see issues from multiple sides. Look, Bill Clinton may have been a philanderer, but as a Southern Democrat, he saw had instilled within him Democratic values and then Southern values. Southern values generally being a little bit more on the Republican side of things. Not necessarily exclusively Republican, but generally speaking, Southern, a little bit more Republican than the North, which is actually a stark contrast to the Civil War, wherein the Southerners were the Democrats and the Northerners were the Republicans. Anyway, part of me wants these two Georgia senator seats or Senate seats to go blue, because then Congress will actually get stuff done, because that would result in a Democratic majority in both houses of Congress. So that would be good for a lot of things, like COVID relief, a number of other social programs. It would not be good for taxes, which, look, if I end up having to pay more taxes, I end up having to pay more taxes. But it would not be good for taxes, likely would not be as good for the markets. So more taxes, less money. So I'm a little bit torn about that, because more often than not, and you can see it with President Obama, a Democratic president with a split Congress, which is what we have right now. Currently, the House is Democrat, Pelosi is Speaker, and Mitch McConnell, Jabba the Hutt incarnate, is Senate Majority Leader for the Republicans. Generally speaking, Democratic presidents with split Congresses have exceptional rates of return in the stock market. Why? Because there's a logjam. There's a political logjam in Congress, and it is very hard to get bills, certainly tax bills, pushed through when you have a split Congress. So I'm sure Joe Biden would like to roll back Trump's tax cuts. I mean, he has said as much. Certainly, I don't think he would do it right away, because I think that Joe Biden, or certainly Joe Biden's team, would recognize that rolling back tax cuts in the middle of a pandemic would not be the best idea, because it isn't. In fact, it is an atrociously terrible idea. But I'm sure down the line, Joe Biden is going to want to roll back Trump's tax cuts. Look, if it happens, it happens. But for those of you who don't like paying taxes, which I'm sure is most, if not all of you, it's not going to happen for a while, because, at the very least, until the midterms, because there's a split Congress, or at least currently there's a split Congress. We'll see what happens, actually, in January with the runoffs. And then after that, you don't have to worry about it until the midterms. So we'll see. I still think the stock market is going to do rather well under a Biden presidency, because we should be getting some vaccine efficacy reports, maybe even FDA emergency use authorizations in the coming quarter, we'll call it. So it's November, December, January. I think by the time Inauguration Day comes along, we will have a very good idea, if we have a safe and effective vaccine, and the timeline for which it can be rolled out en masse. And whenever that does happen, the stock markets are going to fly. Even though the vaccines won't actually be distributed for quite some time, just the prospect of it, of things going back to normal, is going to make the market fly. Likewise, if we get a coronavirus bill, even if it's in a lame duck session of Congress, which I am not overly optimistic for. Lame duck session being, the election was last week. There are a number of people in Congress, in the Senate or the House, that lost their elections. There weren't a whole lot, but they lost their elections. But they're still there, just like the president. They're still there until, next year. They call it a lame duck because a lot of those people just can't be bothered. I mean, that's the oversimplified version of it, but no, I mean, there's obviously some issues about, should you really be taking or casting votes for legislation when the people of your district or state have very obviously voted you out of that position? So, should you really be representing them when you've been voted out of that office? Not a whole lot gets pushed through lame duck Congresses, but I honestly can't think of anything significant off the top of my head. I'm sure there are some things. I just can't think of any. But yeah, I know everyone wants to get a COVID bill pushed through this lame duck session. But Speaker Pelosi and Majority Leader McConnell are still far off. And they don't seem to be willing to compromise any further. Luckily, the president-elect is all about compromise. So I'm sure something will get done at some point. It's just a matter of hanging on until then. Which is easier said than done, I guess. Anyway, enough about politics, man. Seriously. Excuse me. Let's talk about Mandalorian Season 2. No spoilers. Episode 1, or, well, Chapter 10, I guess, whatever, Episode 10. Chapter 10 was fucking awesome. Chapter 9 was fucking awesome. Chapter 10 was Menza. Wasn't thrilled with Chapter 10. It wasn't bad. It just felt like a filler episode, and it was only a half an hour. I was really hoping we could avoid filler episodes, but I guess filler episodes like that are also good in the age of COVID, even though it was filmed before COVID. They're good in the age of COVID because some of them really only require 2 or 3 actors, at most. So obviously very conducive to filming in a COVID world. Although by the time they start filming Season 3, hopefully we'll have a vaccine, so it should be a non-issue. So, yeah, looking forward to Friday again, as always. Hopefully the next one will be a little bit more exciting. I am waiting for... Well, Queel's in the game, but I'm waiting for IG-11 and to max my Queel. Slow playing it because you can get shards from galactic challenges, so no reason to go crazy Kraken and whale out on it, or him just yet, so we'll see. Yeah. Hey, so this is my last GAC 5s video that I'm catching up on. I will at some point be putting out GAC 3 videos with all 4 GLs. God, it sucks. It is so fucking brutal, man. Yeah. That's, if you put all 4 GLs, if you even put 3 GLs on D, you're not full clearing your opponent if they have GLs down. I think the best balance so far that I've found is 2 and 2, 2 on D, 2 on O. And you'll see all those videos, but good Lord, it's so brutal. Yeah. And it's been so long since we last had 3s. And when we last had 3s, we obviously only had 2 GLs, and that was a lot for 3s. Because they're just super overpowered. And it's a little bit easier to balance it out when it's 5v5. But when it's 3v3, there's more RNG involved. Each stat matters more. And it's a lot harder to fight a 500 plus speed character when, you know, you have, like, how much synergy can you really have with 3 characters that can match or beat a GL? I mean, the 3 most synergistic characters in the game, Luke, Han, Chewie, they ain't fucking taking a GL down. Maybe a GL by themselves, but not a GL plus 2. It's just not gonna fucking happen, dude. It's not happening. Anyway, so you'll see all those abortive GAC 3 videos when I get around to them. I apologize, I have been pretty shitty on making videos again. I'm gonna try and be better about it because my dream apartment listed here in my building a few floors below me. So I gotta make that money. Not that I make that much YouTube money, but every dollar makes a difference, right? Okie dokie. All right, see you later.